Welcome to Sundance Film Festival 2011. Lined up for our next interview is Drew 2, aka Drew the Greatest, our youngest reporter here at Sundance Film Festival. I was told this morning by Jesse Creel and Ty Senga, producers of The Stones and the writers-directors, that he was absolutely hands down the best interview they've had this entire festival, and anytime that they can be interviewed, they're going to request Drew. So Drew, your star is rising. Our next interview is Danis Goulet, director of Wapawekka. Drew, take it away.
Hi, I'm Angeline, and I'm here with Danis Goulet, the director of Wapawekka. So Danis, can you tell me, how was the process of making this film like?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here for On Native Ground, and I'm so happy to be back at the Sundance Festival with my film Wapawekka, which was shot in my home area, my territories in northern Saskatchewan, near to the town where I was born. And this film was shot on Lake Wapawekka, which is what the film's named after. And it's a beautiful, remote place. It's a lake, and it's the story of a father and son that go out on the land, and the intergenerational differences between them, the cultural gap that really exists between them. And the process of making the film involved a lot, because we were actually shooting up at a very remote location where there's not a lot of resources and you can only get to the cabin by boat. And so we had a lot of challenges with shooting, but you know, this is a personal project. It's based on my own personal experiences growing up in Saskatchewan. And for me, I use members of my own family. So my dad is in the film, my cousin plays the lead role, I've got uncles, and it's shot really close to home. So for me, it was like a really incredible process. It was, you know, discovering a new way to make a film that made it much more of a family affair, and that was like very involved in, you know, in my family, and it was something that was really special.
Did you come along any troubles while making the film?
I did, actually. The very first night before we were start to be shooting, there was trouble out on the lake. There was a thunderstorm, and because you can only get to the cabin by crossing the lake by boat, I was waiting for my crew to arrive, and it was a thunderstorm and it was getting dark, and so I thought we were going to have to delay shooting because I assumed that they were going to stay in town that night. So the only way to reach somebody is through satellite phone, because there's no reception out there. And I called into town, and my aunt and uncle in town had told me that they'd actually gone out on the lake. And so by that time, hours had passed, and I knew that they were somewhere out on the lake in the boats. And this is a remote, like, there's not a lot of people out there, and so I knew that my crew was out on the lake, stranded somewhere in the middle of a thunderstorm, and I did not sleep a wink before shooting. It was actually terrifying. At that point, didn't even care if I got a movie made. I was just like, where is my crew? What's going on? And I had no way to reach them or communicate with them. And the next morning, we found out that they had motor trouble, and the waves were really crazy, and they broke into another cabin on the lake and stayed the night. And they had a great breakfast, and they were just having a really fun adventure while I was like totally freaking out. But we were actually half an hour away from calling a float plane rescue, so it was actually a really scary scenario, but it all worked out. It was amazing, and we were shooting by 9 a.m. the next morning.
Is this your first time out in Sundance?
It's actually my third or fourth time out at Sundance. I was actually trying to remember that the other day. I came out with a film called Spin at Sundance in 2004. That was my first time here. It was insane. And I came back on behalf of a festival that I'm associated with that's based in Toronto. It's called Imaginative, and it celebrates work by Indigenous and Native filmmakers and artists from all around the world. So I've been so lucky to be associated with Imaginative. It's afforded me the opportunity to come out to Sundance and see the amazing work that gets made.
Did the cast of your film have a lot of experience with acting?
The cast of my film had no experience with acting. The lead was a hip-hop artist. He's my cousin. He lives in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and the character was really based on him. And the other two characters in the film are my uncle and my dad. Nobody had previous acting experience. I come from a casting background, so I'm actually quite a stickler for performance. I think it's really important to nail performance in a film. And so we really just worked in a different process and kind of much much less traditional process. I mean, traditional in terms of filmmaking conventions. And we just, you know, shot on HD so that we had a lot of time to work and give everybody the space to just feel relaxed and to be themselves and to really settle into where we were. And everyone is amazing. And the cast has been really highly complimented, and I think they did a brilliant job. But I think that it is really a testament to, you know, the ability that's out there if you look for it and if you work in a process that will help that along. I don't think you always have to go, you know, the conventional way. I think that it's just important as, you know, people with original voices that we just find our own way to do it that makes sense and that can still, you know, really work and be successful.
So do you have any advice for youth filmmakers?
I do. I think youth filmmakers are really an important generation. I think that, you know, Native youth are, I mean, population-wise, you know, you guys are just exploding right now, and you're going to be the next wave of voices that really make a difference. And I just think that if youth could, you know, I think there's a lot of pressure on youth these days, and I would just say to youth out there that, you know, forget about what everyone says you should do and just really follow your heart. And, you know, I think another problem is just that, you know, I know when I started out as a filmmaker, I just didn't really believe it was possible. I didn't think that there was an audience for me. I didn't have the confidence. And when I made my first film, I just kind of thought, oh, I'm just going to try this, but, you know, it's not very good and no one will like it. And it actually had its first screening at Imaginative and then went on to the Sundance Film Festival. I was absolutely floored. So I would just say to anybody out there that's looking to get into film, follow that interest, even if it's just a tiny little thing that maybe you think you want to check out. Follow that interest, look for training opportunities, look for opportunities to get involved, and then just, you know, plant that little seed of interest and do whatever you can to make it grow, because you actually just have no idea what might happen and what could happen, and the possibilities are really endless.
I'm here with Danis Goulet, and we're on native ground.
Hello, my name is Danis Goulet. I'm here at the Sundance Film Festival. I'm the writer-director of the short film Wapawekka, and you are here on native ground.